no actions taken in closed session. Clerk Epperson? Here. Trustee Lopez? Here. Trustee Reed? Here. Trustee Belinda? Here. And President Axton here. Will you all please stand? Keep on cutting. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Item 8. Approve adopt agenda. Just like a delay to this. Yeah. Okay, whatever.
I move that we adopt the agenda as written.
Second.
There. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 9, our district missions. We are a collaborative, culturally rich educational community where a rigorous and innovative curriculum prepares our students to be successful contributors to our global society. Is it me or is this thing cutting out?
Cutting out.
I don't know.
I think we should just speak right into it to get it going.
And it kept on dropping, so all right, moving on. Item number 10, public comments. Public business from the floor, non-agendized items. This portion of the agenda allows an individual the opportunity to address the board on any item regarding board business that is not on the agenda. Without taking action or entering into a dialogue with the public, board members may briefly respond to statements made or ask clarifying questions about topics posed by the public. Your matter may be referred to administration. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. And just on another note, to be fair to everybody, we want to keep it at 3 minutes. And just to remind the public that we do appreciate your comments and we are listening, but we generally do not get into deep discussions regarding public comments. So, are there any cards? People want to? Oh, there we go. And the cards also help with Paula to keep track of who's actually speaking so we can agenda it. Well, agenda item, Ellie Galindo. Welcome.
Non-agenda item.
Non-agenda item, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah. You caught me.
So I have a few appreciations first that I want to share. I really enjoyed the new format for Back to School Night at the Senior High School campus this year. It was really great. I hope that continues. I also want to say that my kids adore the new vice principal at the Senior High School campus as well. And so we really appreciate that hire and we're really glad to see her part of our family here. And then on more of a constructive note, many of you will remember last year when a number of moms came and asked for more opportunities for remediation for their kids or for advanced support for their kids. And that particular meeting did get a little dicey at times because there are very strong opinions about that. But in case you guys weren't aware, I wanted to point out to you that 3 of those families who got up and spoke here that night have left our district. And I think the main things were more broad support for students that aren't in the average category. And with all of the positive things that are happening here, I hope that things like classroom aids and Academy Gate, reading resource, and things that we've lost over the years might be able to be reinstated. In addition to the sports that we've lost this year, like cross country and swimming, those are the kinds of things that cause families to leave. And you may not agree with the idea that every family in our boundary should be supported and should be attending our schools. But as a parent who's involved in a number of auxiliary groups, I feel like every potential volunteer is important and every family's kids' needs should be met and at least be heard. And so I hope that you guys would, going forward, keep those things in mind. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Item number 11, public hearing. As elected governing body of the Calistoga Joint Unified School District Board of Trustees conducts public hearings for the purpose of maintaining open communication with parents, students, and residents of the Calistoga community and school district. Through the public hearing process, trustees seek ideas and viewpoints regarding the efficiency and quality of the district-sponsored programs or any other area of the operation of the district and its schools. The trustees believe that open communication is a key element in the ongoing process of the district, school, and program improvement. 11.1, public hearing, sufficiency of instructional materials. We're going to open the public hearing at 6:06. Number 2, comments from the staff board.
Just want to comment that those materials are currently on back order and arrival. Nicole says she thinks it will be tomorrow.
Say it again? What?
A couple of those items were on back order. The projected date of arrival is supposed to be tomorrow. Fingers crossed.
Comments from the public?
Can I ask a question at the podium?
Of course you can. Please state your name and or your addresses, please.
Hi, I'm Kim Beltran with the Calistoga Tribune. I figure now is a good time to ask a question, but
Of course.
how does that impact students? Can you answer that? Like, I'm just curious if the material or the instructional materials are insufficient for the start of the school year. What do the kids do, or what does that mean exactly?
And I'll see if I can keep this mic going.
It's, you know, it's when you pause, it cuts out, and then you start talking again, and
All right, I'll try to work through this. Originally, with insufficiency of materials came forward, it was at a time where we were entirely in a textbook-based curriculum system. And so one thing that we do benefit from this is that we obviously do want to get workbooks and textbooks in every student's hands. But what we are able to do is that much of this curriculum comes with a significant digital portion that we are able to give to students. Also, teachers have PDF copies of many of these materials online that they can print out temporarily. I want to emphasize until we get those materials. But at this point, we are still, it's not that the students aren't getting access to anything, it's just that the teacher does have to do additional printing, which is not ideal.
well, good. That explains it for me. Any other comments? All right. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. 6:09. 6:08. Item 12, reports, recognition, information, discussion items. 12.1, Riverbank Restoration Project Update. Chris, you're up.
So I'm not really sure what's going on with the mics. Even you have an old one there, Jeff, and
So it's cutting out on you too?
yeah, but yours is the original microphones that are in here.
Huh?
So I'm thinking it's somewhere after those microphones. So
Gotcha.
I'm not sure what's going on.
Okay.
I'll get somebody out. But anyway, another Riverbank. We finally got going on it. Fencing got put up last week. They started to mobilize, which includes bringing in equipment, surveying, marking off areas, kind of getting an idea of where they're going to start, how they're going to approach it. Earlier this week, at the end of last week, they started cutting in the ramp to go down into the river, which is really the key part of breaking the ground. So I was out there today, and they're about halfway down the river. There was a geotech out on Friday who had some concerns with just the stability of some of the areas that they were digging. So a few of the precautions they took was setting up marker points throughout the riverbank, throughout the high point of the riverbank, as well as the footing, the posts on the shade structure. So throughout the day, they'll hit that with lasers to make sure that it hasn't moved. It's basically the surveying equipment. They have a fixed spot, and if that line that they have marked is not showing up, then it means it's moved. So they basically are able to keep a really close eye on the entire structure just by surveying throughout the day to make sure that the digging they're doing is not causing issues. There's a few cracks that they think are older. Throughout the day, they monitor those as well. They pulled back a bunch of bark on the playground to check for other cracks there. So I don't think it's going to delay a whole lot. They've added a few safety precautions just to make sure everything's all right. They're keeping in touch with the geotechnical engineer. But as of right now, probably on around Wednesday, they'll have the pathway dug down to the river. They'll start the key, digging the key, which is basically where the big rocks are going to go in. That's going to be the main strength of the repair, and then they'll build up from there. So they'll continue doing that into Friday and then into next week. So we're moving along, and everything, with the exception of the little concern from the geotech, is moving along good. Does anybody have any questions?
The students are fascinated by watching all the.
I was going to say, is it an attractive nuisance there?
Yeah, we always just set up some bleachers.
They
When
sit
there's no
in the
football
fence
games, we'll bring the
and
bleachers
watch.
up.
Well, now, what kid doesn't want to see it?
It's amazing, they're just mesmerized.
Maybe make it a teachable moment. You know?
So, yeah, we're finally moving forward, and everything's going good so far. Only a weekend, but finally getting on.
And when's the ETA?
October 6th is what we're thinking.
Good, good.
So, and that would be finished with the repair. And then after that, we'll have to do some grass repair and stuff like that. The path they're taking is kind of around the outside perimeter. So once we can open up the grass, at least it's not going to be a bunch of block-up areas for sheep.
Right.
They'll still have some areas that they'll be able to play once we open up. They're doing their best to minimize how much damage to the grass. Well, which one are you referring to? The one that the ramp they're taking down, they did remove one that's there, and they'll put it back when the ramp's done. So that one's just a 6-inch drain, but yeah,
But isn't that the one that we went? Well,
that's downstream.
that's down. Okay, that's further. So this one is just its own independent. It's not. We did all that.
It was in the way of the ramp.
Right. No, I understand.
So is there a chance to put the barriers so that washout doesn't shoot right into our river bank?
The tree that's there right now is going to be incorporated into the design as part of habitat mitigation that we had to do in the design to get approval for all the permitting and stuff like that. Part of that was to incorporate those. There's 2 large fallen trees that are in the river that we're going to incorporate into the bank that will be posted. Large rods are going to go through the tree to hold them in place, so they're going to be built into the rocks themselves. So a lot of the key for that is to make sure that that root structure is still in the river, so that the freshwater shrimp and fish can have a place to hide and have a habitat. The freshwater shrimp can use those root systems to make their house.
Have you been getting an education?
I have. I hope they never have to use it, but that's been pretty interesting so far.
Any other questions?
Yes, how's traffic being impacted in that area? I know that there is a construction on Cedar Street that we have going on there. And we have
Yeah,
a
so-
river and
The path for our trucks is not going to come into where Berry Street is. They're going to come straight down Silver off of Foothill. So it's my understanding that all the materials are coming from the quarry up in on the
West.
Santa Rosa. It's a different name than what I.
Bodine.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. So they'll be coming down Silver Street off of Foothill straight into the playground. And the method that they'll be delivering it is 10-wheelers as opposed to big end-up tractor trailers. So it should have a little less impact. With the big truck. So, yeah, we went out not last week, the week before, and handed out flyers giving those neighbors a heads up that we would have some traffic.
Nice. All right. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, 12.2, Jenna, bond sales report.
So at our last meeting, I think we talked about how we had gone to market, sold our bonds. So to date, the only update I have is that those funds have been wired, off, and we have $11 million that was wired to the reserve. I want to talk about also our oversight committee. As you know, we have a bond oversight committee, and their role is to really ensure that we uphold what we promise the taxpayers in terms of projects, spending money, and we have 8 members, and 6 of those members are actually up. Final term is up. So we have talked about, as you know, it's a very time-consuming, uncompensated commitment that they've made since the beginning, most of them, of the passage of our bonds. So we would like to do something for them in October, November, but we also like to invite them to one of the next 2 board meetings to just
Great idea.
so the process will be the same. We'll have to advertise application will come in, we have to make sure we meet the qualifications of certain groups.
How many are on it?
8.
6 out of the 8 are up, oh boy.
They're on the second one.
Third, most of them are sure.
Work in progress?
Yeah.
12.3, summer school principal report. Valenzuela.
Good evening, board and Superintendent Hagbert Smith. I guess this is cutting out on me too. So basically, we have a report. Oh, can you do that first? Thank you, Paula, for the slides. So we'll go through this first, and then I can go through the written material. Here's some slides of summer school in terms of some data that I wanted to share with you. Put my glasses on. So summer school hours. We had a summer school program for students in grades 1 through 12, and we had elementary students, grades 1 through 6. Junior high was considered 7th and 8th, and high school was 9 through 12. So there you have the hours of instruction. So basically, there was a breakfast provided every morning here in this room that you're in, and it was a nutritious meal. I want to thank Ed and his staff for doing that. So the grades 1 through 8 were able to eat breakfast before going to class at 8:30. The high school kids, they were a little different because they started class at 8 o'clock as opposed to 8:30. And the reason being they needed to be in class longer because it was credit recovery. So the high school kids were able to get snack between 10:15 and 10:30. I don't know why this is cutting out.
Had the same problem, George.
Yeah. Should I even use this? So the elementary students were also getting snacks. So the elementary students had a snack, middle school students had a snack, and high school students. So basically what you have there are the minutes of instruction. We pretty much followed the program that was offered the year prior, so that would be summer of 2016. So we had 210 minutes of English and math instruction at the elementary level. And the elementary students had the 4th of July as a holiday, so they attended school for approximately 15 days. Elementary was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They went 4 days a week. The older kids, grades 7 through 12, went to school 5 days a week. And we also had breaks for the 4th of July. Feel free to interrupt me at any time. So maybe go to the next slide.
How many kids?
Okay, that's a good question. So here's the enrollment. I had, Paula was able to go through it and the numbers look a little bit nicer. But for first, second grade, we had initial enrollment, first day of summer school, about 21 kids. And they did really well at the end of summer school. They ended with 21 students. Third and fourth grade started with 21, ended with 17. Fifth and sixth grade, 22, 22. Extended school year, I'll go into a little bit later in my report. Extended school year is a program for students with IEPs, special education students, where it's written in their IEP that they need additional learning over the summer months so they don't fall behind. It's called the extended school year. Not every student has that. And what we did in Calistoga this year for the first time in, I don't know, 6-7 years, is we offered a summer school program for those students. In the past, we were sending those students to St. Helena, and they were being educated in St. Helena. So we thought we would do a cost savings and offer the program here. So we had 7 elementary students in extended school year, and it was highly successful. They all finished. When you get to 7th and 8th grade, it's called English language acquisition. It's a class, it's an intervention class for students that we thought they were 7th grade, they were rising 7th graders, so they were at Calistoga Elementary. The teachers thought that they could take a class in the summer and improve their English skills, reading and writing, and the 8th graders were 7th graders at the junior high that were recommended by the staff here that they should go to summer school. We had a teacher teach that class, Ms. Fred Alizio. She lives in Calistoga, but she's not an employee here. She did a fabulous job. So we had about 19 kids, 7th and 8th grade English. We ended with 16. English language development, that's a class where students are not English speakers. Their native language is another language, it's usually Spanish. We offered that class for the high school students. We hired a non-district teacher, and that didn't really work out very well, so we had to collapse that class the first week. Getting back to Trustee Galindo's question, we had a really successful program at the high school level. What they did was, it was an online program called Apex. They sign in, whether it's they're taking an English class, a history class, a geometry class, and they're doing work online with the teacher in the classroom, supervising them. And we had Apex licenses, so the teacher had to go out and buy these licenses so they could take this class. And the data showed that they did really well. A lot of our students did well, and they passed their classes. So I think it was about 140 students total, and I think towards the end, off the top of my head, we had about 135 complete. The students that didn't complete summer school, we had a rule that if they missed 3 days, they were out. And some kids self-selected and just didn't come back. We didn't have any disciplinary problems, so it wasn't like we had kids go home. We had 0 office referrals. It was very successful. Maybe we have another slide, we have more information on the next slide.
I have a question about the 6th graders that were moving up to the junior high. English was the only course offered for them? Was there anything offered in math, for starting math?
No, we were limited in what we could offer for summer school, and basically we had a limited amount of teachers we could hire, a limited amount of programs, so we had to go out and recruit. And it's really hard to recruit teachers to work summer school because they want their summers off. So we were able to get one teacher from the high school to teach at the high school level. I had a teacher hired from outside the district at the high school level. The junior high school teacher was from another district. The elementary teachers were from here, but we didn't have a math program for 7th and 8th graders. That's something you could look at next year if that's what the board or the superintendent wants to direct us to have. Here's the data for attendance, extended school year. Mr. May did a great job. He had 93% attendance the first week, ended with 90%. First and second grade, I believe it was Mrs. Rivas and Mrs. Duarte, the teachers at the elementary school. They did well at the beginning, then towards the end, I think we had a couple students drop out, so they ended up at 83%. Third and fourth grade was Miss Alvarez. She's another teacher at the elementary school. Started at 96 and ended up at 80. 5th and 6th grade was Miss Patain. She also works at the elementary school. She did a fabulous job. I think she had the highest attendance for the summer. English language development, that's the class that we had to collapse. 7th and 8th grade was the English class. You could see at the high school level we had one teacher was Mr. Boncutter, one teacher was Mrs. Brooks, but I don't remember which. But overall, we had an 88% attendance the last week. You average it out, it's well over 90% attendance. Kids that came to summer school wanted to be here and had a great time. Do we have another slide, or is that? Okay, here we go. So Miss Patain went into her data, and she was really data-driven, the teacher for 5th and 6th grade. And the chart on the left talks about Dreambox, that's a math program. And it shows the growth in terms of how the students did. So student number 1, we can't put their name on there for confidentiality. They progressed in terms of 4 standards. You look at student 15, 11 standards, student 22, 14 standards. So this shows you the growth that these students in the 5th and 6th grade made in terms of math. Over on the right, we have some information about the 7th and 8th graders, how they did in English class. They were reading literature, Lord of the Flies. They were writing and reading in small cooperative groups. The kids did really well. They had 7 A's, 9 B's, and 3 are not F's. Those are incompletes. I think those 3 students dropped. So she really enjoyed the class, and the kids really liked the teacher. We have another slide. These are the high school grades. This was, as you can tell, we had students at the high school level that were recommended by the principal and the counselor that these were students that either had to make up a class because they didn't take it or they weren't successful and they needed these classes for high school graduation. So we offered English 9, English 10, Geometry Semester 1, which is different than Geometry Semester 2, 11, first semester, second semester, U.S. history, world history. So as you can tell by looking at this graph in front of you, we had a lot of course offerings, number of students on the left, the grade breakdown, we had A's, B's, C's, and D's, very 1F, which is pretty amazing. No incompletes. We did have a couple of students drop, but they self-selected, they just decided they didn't want to be in summer school. So it was very successful. I felt that based on the math that I used here, 81% successful. And the reason that the 21% is there is just because a couple of students self-selected not to go. I think we had 1F, all these students. So you had 74 students. One student wasn't successful, but I think that student just work. So I don't know if you want me to speak more, but you have a board report that's in front of you. So maybe I could just stop and you could ask me questions, or I could keep going. It's your pleasure.
I do have 2 questions. The first one has to do with the schedule. You say that the students at the high school started at 8 a.m., but there was no breakfast offered to them. So that, I mean, I feel like it's very important that you touch that point, that there needs to be some kind of meal offered to them, especially because the first snack is not until 10:15 in the morning.
Right, that was a problem with the high school level in the sense that they didn't have a breakfast because they started earlier. I think that's something we should look at for next year in terms of offering breakfast or maybe adjusting the time so the students could start at the same time. But it was kind of weird to have the high school students on one schedule and the elementary and the junior high on a different schedule. And it took me a couple of days to figure out that the high school kids were not having breakfast, they were eating during brunch. So that's something I could work with Ed or the superintendent on next year and make sure that we provide a snack for them in the morning. I don't know if it had to do with the employees starting at 8 or 7:30, kitchen being good. I don't know. I could get back to you on that. I remember talking to Ed over the summer, but I don't remember off the top of my head why we didn't have a snack earlier. We only had it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We can look into that. Students should come to school with a
Were the summer schools at both campuses?
So I wasn't here the year before. I just finished my first year at the elementary as the vice principal. This is my second year, but this year we had summer school here on this campus. So we had the elementary school kind of segregated in some back bungalows from the junior high students, and the junior high students a little bit segregated from the high school students. The elementary students had to use different restrooms that were not offered to the older kids. So we had the elementary, junior, and high school on this campus, but you also had Boys and Girls Club here that summer. They were using the music room behind me, and they had two or three classrooms on the junior high campus. But we also had another program that I really didn't work with, which was out by the tennis court. The name of the program escapes me. I think it was called Bridges. So we had quite a few things going on here, and the Boys and Girls Club were able to use the junior high school gym during the summer for their afternoon activities. There was a lot going on here in the summer. The good thing about the lunch program in the summer, it was free to everyone. So if you had a child under I think the age of 18, anyone could come in and get a free meal. So that was really positive.
But we shut down the grammar school because we thought the river work was gonna be done, but
Well, and also the front bridge.
front bridge, so, I mean, we just decided not to, we knew it was gonna be crowded, so it should be better next year.
Right, right.
I have one more question for you. On your written report, you're talking about the ELD class that you have collapsed due to resignation from the instructor. What was the alternative to those students? Was there anything offered to them?
We had one student, there was only like 7 or 8 students in the ELD class, and they were shocked as well as I was when the teacher resigned midweek during the first week of school. One student we were able to move over to another class, and I think he took English 11 first semester. The other 5 or 6 students, we weren't able to offer them another class, so that was, I had to make some hard phone calls to the parents and let them know that we couldn't have a program for them. But I think next year's recommendation to the principal or whoever's running the program is do our best to hire teachers from Calistoga, because they really have an interest in our kids and they're grounded here and they know the kids and they really want to be here. Not to say that if you're from outside the district you're not going to do a good job, but I think if you hire Calistoga teachers, they know our kids and they're really committed. That was just a weird situation where a teacher quit, and I worked with the superintendent at the time and we're trying to figure out what we're going to do. It was unfortunate, but we only had 5 or 6 students affected. We didn't have enough time to turn around and try to hire a teacher to come in because summer school is only 4 weeks. We did the best we could with those students.
Yeah, well, I mean, 5 or 7 is way too many, and 1 is way too many in this instruction. The other thing is that migrant education also, we should explore the possibility of partnering with them, because they do have the resources that, online resources or books that they can, provide some assistance in that regard. So we used to have a very strong presence on migrant education during the summits in the past, and I think it's time for us to start looking into that again.
Right, Andy from the Family Center has talked to Principal Lamar and I about partnering with MigrantEd and he's trying to get that ball rolling. We haven't had any meetings with that group yet, but we've had conversations about that. But that was like in August or September. It wasn't before summer school happened, which was in June or July.
Any other questions? Thank you, George. Yeah?
Thank you. It was a learning experience.
Learning experience. All right. 12.4, CES Principals Report. Nicole?
So I'm going to try to forego the mic just because. So if people can't hear me, just let me know. I'll try to use my middle school voice here. There's 3 things I'd like to report on above the board report that I did. First of all, this is my first meeting in 17-18, so it's nice to be back. And the first thing I wanted to talk about is, as you're aware, we have construction projects happening over at CPS. Something that happened this year, which I'm just very grateful to our community as a whole, is first of all, our teachers, our students, our parents have been very flexible and patient with all of the different changes that have happened at our site. We had a generous donation from our Athletic Boosters Club, who went and surveyed the teachers to see what kind of additional equipment we could get out there to engage students. We also were able to move forward with support from our district office with a contract with a group called Academy of Sports. One of the challenges that we had is with the play structure being gone, we needed more activities to engage our students. And so now we have different coaches coming in who come in between 10:50 and 1:50, and basically they start the first morning with our grades 4 through 6 recess. They do facilitated play, sports training. They try to change it up quite a bit to keep students engaged. Then they do kindergarten recess, which is pretty fun to watch the kindergartners out there. And then they do each of the lunch recesses, grades 1 through 3, then 4 through 6. And then finally they end with the primary recess that's at 1:35. And so at first we looked at various models to do this where, okay, we'll focus on one grade a week or different ideas. And really what it came down to is we're giving students free choice. So on average, we usually have about 40 students involved in some kind of play activity. Sometimes it's a little bit less depending on what the sport is that they're working on. But it has been some relief for the students out there. The other thing I wanted to report on is that we are approaching our parent committee meetings a little bit differently this year. And an expression I like to use a lot for Spanish is the idea of kind of paso por paso. So the idea is step by step, reflecting, making changes as needed. But what we're doing this year is that really the first Wednesday of the month is dedicated for our parent organizations to get together. We start our meetings at 5, and then with our PTA board meeting, followed by 5:30 with the PTA general meeting. Then at 6:30 we have our ELAC meeting. And part of that really was from parent feedback last year, stating that coming to multiple meetings was a really big commitment. We're trying to increase food offerings. We know being at school from 5 until 8:15 is a lot to ask. We also are providing childcare, and really what we're trying to do is get a broader representation of our parent participation. And really what we're trying to do is reflect each time what's working, what's not working, and making adjustments to that. And then I'm now right in the middle of our release days, so this is our last year of our educator effectiveness grant. Each grade is released 3 days per year, and basically we do an initial look at our baseline data of what our students are coming in with. From there, we make decisions regarding designated ELD, and in grades 4 through 6, we're also looking at adding an enrichment component to that. So looking at targeting instruction for where a student is at. We also are again focusing on mathematics, and we are looking at our initial math inventory data. And so we got, there's the only grade that we did not get a baseline on was kindergarten. And there was a little bit of a platform issue. We'll get on them by December. And we're just working through that to start getting a sense of when the teachers were looking at mathematics data, there was some concern on the LCAP that we needed to have an ongoing monitoring piece. And so this is an ongoing monitoring piece. And we're also, because we do have a partnership with Young Words, it's also the metric that they're using with all of their schools. But I really do like doing our release days, and what I shared today with our appreciations, just how much it guides what I do to have that one day of focusing grade by grade, student by student. And so we'll be working through those through next week, and then the next round will be December, and our final one for March. Well, I think that when we start looking at the LCAP planning piece, we're working with our stakeholders. That's going to be something that we're going to talk about. Because I think the teachers see the value in it. I definitely see the value in it. So I think it will hopefully, get rolled into classes.
Any other questions? Thank you, Nicole.
All right.
Up next, Craig.
Thank you. Similar to Nicole at CES, we're outlining a plan for developing interim assessments so we can ensure that teachers are teaching what's appropriate and the students are learning. And we want to gauge what they know to be able to do, and then go back and each of them teach. So similar plan where they're using release days for staff. Because really, if you give an exam, you don't take time to sit and evaluate it, it really makes no sense at all. So building in those release days, and like Nicole said, we're going to have to look at what's the educator thinking when it's over, how do we build that back into it. We held our junior high and senior high elections, so we have officers who go to junior high and senior high now, and our ASB, then also within their ASB class elected the next student, and she's here tonight, so we'll give you that in 2 minutes. We're gearing up for homecoming, which is really exciting. We had our first, Friday night game here. I felt like the attendance was probably twice as many.
How many things twice?
Yeah, twice as many. I think it was probably twice as many. We've had fairgrounds. It was, I thought it was festive, a lot of fun. Our brand new cheer squad of 26 girls was in attendance. They'd only been working for a week, and they learned 2 cheers, which was a good start. They did really well. Our advisory, I feel, is going well. It's new this year on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And our staff, when we talked about it, reflected on what's going well in the advisory teams. We also reflected on the back to school. I appreciate Ms. Linda giving us a shout out there. It was different, but it had a community feel. I felt that it's a lot of people. And we ate outside, we ate inside. So we talked about that, how we can improve upon it. Some things we can work on, but I think the change is the best. Everything else is in our board.
Any questions? Unfortunately, Mike, too. All right, 12.6, Superintendent.
I'm also going to try to hold up the mic. I'm participating in Napa Valley Professional Learning Network. It's being run by the county. And it consists of all 5 districts that representatives there, and we will be meeting a total of 9 times during the course of the school year, both virtually and in person. And the purpose of it is to examine student data and look at what we're doing now and how we can do that better. So our first session was really helpful to me. They have outstanding presenters, and they produced a new software called Tableau Reader. And Tableau Reader is something that I have not been exposed to. And it's going to allow us, the county office chose 15 school districts that are similar in enrollment, parent education, percent of English learners, number of schools who have free reduced lunch. And so it identifies 15 of these schools in California, and then we can narrow it down if we choose to as an administrative team, and then we can study those schools to see how they compare to us and what is successful for them and what hasn't been successful. So our first goal will be to narrow down how we have 5 schools, and if we want to visit, we can visit their sites as well. So I think it's going to be valuable to principals. I'll be showing them the software hopefully in the next month as I learn more myself. The other cool thing about the software is it allows us to present the data in a visual manner for parents. I think it will be more easily understood by parents, but sometimes it's hard for all of us to understand the data. And so there's just some tables and graphs like that that were more accessible for our families. And then I want to let you know that, just as you know, during the recent decision by the Trump administration regarding the DACA, I got a letter that's being translated to our families and actually go home in the next couple of days just to reassure them that we are safe for our district, and our kids are safe in school. And also we partnered with Family Center on the letter, and so we've identified some resources in the Family Center as well. And I want to publicly thank Principal Wyckoff, Chris Wilkes, who already left, our maintenance staff, and athletic director Karen Dover. I thought they did a fantastic job, the whole team, on preparing the home field for our home games. So they took a lot of extra work, so thank you for those who did all of that. And then under our LCAP Goal 3, which is enhancing communication, I'm now 2/3 of the way through my 90-day plan, and I've spent the last couple of weeks meeting with teachers. It's been great getting to know them, just as individuals as lastly, I was able to spend time with our new student board rep, Catherine Rojas, to discuss her role with her, and I'm excited to have her join the governance team. Welcome back.
Trustee, yes, of course. Superintendent Egbert, what I've heard from our staff, we so appreciate you visiting this meeting. It's been something very meaningful. We also came to one of our staff meetings and was there the whole time. We worked with the groups of teachers to see them, and that was something that they greatly appreciate. So thank you so much.
Any other comments, questions? All right, moving on. Item 13, the consent calendar. This is requires a roll call vote. Actions proposed for the consent agenda being routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless any member of the board, audience, or staff requests specific items to be